All right. Say the bit. Choose life. Say the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Choose life. Choose pooping naked instead of with your clothes on. Choose...
throwing up in a bag instead of hyperventilating and dying.
Yeah, choose getting shot in the heart by Cameron Diaz. Choose to be a millionaire on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Just choose to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Choose to have your eyes scooped out.
Yeah. Choose to go to the sun and try to throw a bomb into it.
Choose to reignite the sun to hold on to some form of something you call life.
Mm-hmm. Choose
to go insane in the vast expanse of space because you can't handle the feeling of loneliness for more than 2 months.
Yeah. Choose to go back in time so you can get killed by your past self in the future. Wait, that's not how that works. It's a looper.
Oh.
Choose to loop.
Choose Lupin.
Yeah, loop. Loop on.
Choose Lupin!
Yeah.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Screen Weens, the Danny Boyle episode. 187.
Yes.
Pretty confident with that one.
Yes.
I'm London.
I'm Thomas.
We talk about movies.
Yes. And today we are discussing 5 classic Danny Boyle movies. We are discussing Shallow Grave, Trainspotting,
A Life
Ordinary
Less
Life?
Ordinary.
A Life Less Ordinary, Slumdog Millionaire, and Trainspotting 2, or
T2 Trainspotting.
What a weird title. Anyway, so yeah, before we get into that, we're going to do our usual shtick of talking about what we've been up to into this weird, wacky world of ours in which we live, and talk about some of the media we've consumed. What have you done this week?
I mean, big thing we both have consumed is we watched Spider-Verse.
Subspecies 5.
And yes, we watched Subspecies 5 Blood Rise, which was a movie.
It was almost 2 movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was...
It's fine.
Yeah, it was okay.
I liked it.
I don't think most of our listeners would like it, but...
But the people that watched the Subspecies episode probably would.
Yes. If
All 10 people or whoever. I don't know how many people watched that episode.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be like 17 views watch this.
It's gonna blow up now that Subspecies 5 is out.
Ooh, yeah.
But, yeah. So, we both watched Subspecies 5, which was a banger. And then we went and saw Spider-Verse. And we also watched The First Spider-Verse, which was, First Spider-Verse is classic. And we went and saw Across the Spider-Verse, which I think I can confidently say we both really liked a whole lot.
I think I liked it more than the first.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same camp. It's just that...
48 views!
Yeah, but it's just that I can't concretely, wholeheartedly admit that until I see how it wraps up. Because, sometimes the build-up is better than the resolution. So
Last Jedi, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. But very, very good.
Gorgeous. I'm seeing it probably again tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
I'm probably seeing Transformers Rise of the Beasts or whatever tomorrow too.
Oh, sure, it's going to be a classic.
Pray for me.
So, what happened to... I am so out of the Transformers, movie loop, but weren't they, didn't they do, a soft reboot with Bumblebee?
Yeah, apparently this is also, in between. Apparently this one takes place in the 90s, from what Pierre said. So I think it's still in between the two. Because Bumblebee's kind of like a soft reboot, but it also could just be, a semi-prequel. Mm-hmm. Also, I don't think any of them really care about consistency.
At this point,
I thought Bumblebee was really good. I really like Bumblebee. Mm-hmm. I was I think it's that and the animated movie, and then the rest are just garbage.
Yeah.
This one probably will be too. Doesn't look particularly good. Yeah. Who's somebody big's directing? Somebody that I'm that's a weird director, but I'm into it. Who's directing it? Someone that I like want to see do good, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. No, I'm thinking of something else. It's the guy who did Creed 2.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
I like Creed 2.
The guy... Oh, yeah, I guess the guy who did Creed 2 didn't do Creed 1, because...
No, that was Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, he went on to do Black Panther, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. For some reason, I thought he had left Black Panther to do Creed, and I was like, wait, no. That's not right.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Interesting.
But, yeah. I'm not super excited, but I gotta watch it because I don't know, an idiot. What else did I watch this week? Not a whole lot. Except I had the worst triple feature of, like, all fucking time.
Oh, yeah.
I went to the movie theater. I saw The Boogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
I saw About My Father.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw The Machine.
Ah, yes. Yeah, those all... I know what the... you told me about all three of them, because that was the day we watched Subspecies. I don't remember what the father one was.
It's just like Robert De Niro plays like, hey, I'm an old Italian father. And, my son wants to get married to somebody, and, I gotta impress his parents. It's dumb. And that one was probably the best of the three. Because, like, it had some moments that were like, yeah, this is fun. I think Robert De Niro is also, like, an actor that I like watching, even when it feels like he's, like, just kind of sleeping through his role. Like, his like, sleepy shtick is kind of fun.
I can see it. See it.
So that one was probably the best. It was the least obnoxious, too.
Mm-hmm.
The Boogeyman was just kind of like... I miss when... I think I've come to despise the idea of elevated horror. In the sense that, like... A lot of the concepts that are being explored in horror these days are nothing new.
Yeah.
And it's just like... In fact, it feels like horror is just treating its audiences like babies. And it's like, I need to spell everything out for you. Like, I feel like there's a lot of great horror movies from the yesteryear that would just, these concepts are the background. Like, they're there. They're being explored, but in a more subtle way. And they also don't necessarily need to be wrapped up in a nice little bow by the end of it. It's like... Yeah, it's just kind of obnoxious. I feel like there's plenty of, like, elevated horror that I love, like The Witch.
Yeah.
Or
I was going to say
Hereditary. But it's just like...
I don't even subscribe to that term.
Yeah, when people say it, I'm like, I'm gonna kill myself.
I'll accept avant-garde horror, but I feel like that's more of a smaller box than what people consider elevated horror.
Because most elevated horror that comes out is just like, do you mean the most popular horror movie of last year? Or like the thing that everyone talks about?
Yeah, because I mean, based off what I've seen of Boogeyman, elevated horror definitely wouldn't be a term I'd use for it.
And I just mean, like, I don't think most people would either, because it's bad. It's like a bad movie, but it's trying to do the thing that all modern horror is doing.
Yeah, no, it's like, because, I mean, there's only so many, because, I mean, with elevated horror, it's like you gotta kind of lean into the psychological a lot of the time, and it's like there are only so many things that are on, like, the mind or the public spectrum currently.
Yeah.
Which I think they could do interesting stuff with. It's just that, like, studios just don't take the risks or don't have writers who are capable of really writing something that complicated and doing it in an effective way that doesn't just, like, fall flat on its face or seem like kind of cringe. But there's some good stuff. There's some good stuff. There's some bad stuff. I can't think of the last, like... I think, like, Suspiria 2018 is the last movie I'd probably, like, deem elevated horror. I guess you can make a case for, like, Ari Aster stuff, but I'd call that more avant-garde. Like, it doesn't really strike me as, like, particularly deep, but it's interesting in the way it's shot.
But most people would.
Yeah. It's probably, like, deeper than the average fucking, like, horror movie coming out. Like, I'd probably say, like, there's more layers to, like, Midsommar or Hereditary than to something like The Boogeyman, but like I don't know.
Terrifier 2?
Terrifier 2 is it's a horror masterpiece.
Terrifier 3 is in pre-production.
Oh, it's gonna take 7 years and it's gonna be 9 hours long. Can you imagine if there was like a human condition length Terrifier movie?
It's gonna be about a small Hungarian village. It's gonna be shot in black and white.
It's gonna be called Art Tango. But yeah, fucking, But then we watched a real elevated horror movie later that day, which was Subspecies 5: Bloodrise.
I mean, I think that Ted Nicolau's scripts are at least a little better than, you know.
Well,
if Ted Nicolau could get a budget, best movie of all time. Just kidding.
Maybe.
No, because there's a certain... Who did that? I dropped my rubber band ball. There's a certain, you know, I like if Ted Nicolau had a script, it might be like you might unrecognizable.
Yeah. I feel like Ted Nicolau is kind of like one of those writers where it's like you could get something good out of him, but he'd need like an editor who's not Charles Band. Somebody there who can go, this works, this doesn't work, because I don't know if he knows how to like really hook. Mm-hmm. Even in like the older Subspecies movies, which I did like, they are a bit of a slow burn. Except for when you see Radu's big fingers, and then it's like, woo!
I know I liked it a little more than you, but I think Terror Vision just hooks you. Actually, I don't think he wrote Terror Vision, actually. He wrote all the Subspecies movies. He doesn't write most of his movies, though.
I know that when I watched Terror Vision, I was struggling with its sense of humor for like the first leg of it, but eventually it got me. And yeah, that movie is a lot more engaging than probably like the Subspecies movies, but
yeah, that's pretty much all I did. I've been reading a lot. I've finished my Star Wars book, the Republic Commando one I was reading, and I read the first Puppet Master trade.
Yes.
And it was good. It was unfortunately good. But yeah, other than that, we had to watch 5 Danny Boyle movies, so I didn't watch anything else. Did you?
No, I didn't watch anything else that we didn't already mention, but I did start replaying Spider-Man.
Ooh!
So, I'm like, yeah, I've been doing that in any free time I can scrounge up, and it's, yeah, I love that game. It's so much fun.
It's so good.
Yeah. Really excited for the second one to come out later this year, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I assume it is.
I'm thinking I'm going to replay Spider-Man, but I might just play Miles Morales, because what time do I have? Because I want to read, and I want to, so.
Oh.
And I never played Miles Morales, so.
Yeah, Miles Morales is good. It's shorter than the Spider-Man game is. It's not like, it doesn't hit the highs that Spider-Man did, at least not for me. But it's still a really good game.
But yeah, I might play that, and then if I get like reinvigorated in the mood to play video games, I might replay the first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm playing through the remaster currently, so getting used to that new face.
I don't like it.
I
don't like it.
Comparatively, I don't like it. Now that some time has passed and I've kind of grown more used to it, I'm not quite foaming at the mouth about it, but like it is disappointing because I thought that last guy who they got was like coincidentally just like the perfect like combination of Toby, Andrew, and Tom and like his facial features, and now it leans a little more on the Tom Holland side, but he looks a lot less like Tom Holland than I initially thought now that I've like been playing the whole game. But there's some parts where like, because they basically like, I don't know like the full extent to what they had to do to like change his face. I'm sure it was probably a lot of work, but like his face isn't quite on sync with everyone else's, so it's like you'll be like looking at people's like, let's say like you go up and interact with like people at the feast center or something, and like you'll look at their faces, and if you turn the camera and look at like Peter's face now, it's really derpy. And it's like, oh man. But I think that might just be because it wasn't originally designed for the game. So hopefully it looks a lot better when it's full time in Spider-Man 2. But we shall see.
We shall see. I also rewatched I Love You, Man.
Oh, nice.
So I really like that movie.
Yeah, I remember really liking that one. I haven't watched it in a while, though.
Alright. Are you ready for... Pierre didn't fucking send us questions.
Oh.
We just saw him.
I know.
That's fine.
Pierre!
Is he still outside? Let me just reload, make sure.
Okay.
Nope. Okay. We're talking about Danny Boyle.
Mm-hmm.
Go, Thomas.
All right. The Dan Man was born in October of 1956 in
He's ancient.
Radcliffe, Lancashire, England. I don't know English places. Anyway.
Lancashire.
Yes.
I know that one.
He has a twin sister and another sister who are apparently both teachers. He was born to Frank and Annie Boyle. I don't know. I love those names. Frank Boyle. It's got power. Anyway. But yeah, he was brought up in a working class Catholic family. He was like an altar boy for like 8 years. And he was going to go to school to like become a priest, but like one of the priests that was there like convinced him not to do it. So he's probably a little bit of a devil, probably. It's like, oh man, this kid, he cares too much about working class issues. He'll never be a good priest. But, yeah, so yeah, he's got a quote here on the Wikipedia page. Whether he was saving me from the priesthood or the priesthood from me, I don't know. But quite soon after, I started doing drama. And there's a real connection, I think. All these directors, Martin Scorsese, John Woo, M. Night Shyamalan, they were all meant to be priests. There's something theatrical about it. It's basically the same job, pouncing around telling people what to think. But yeah, so then he went to a college. I don't know what kind of a college that is, but it looks like a grammar school.
He didn't know how to read.
I guess so. But yeah, and then he went, he studied English and drama at the University of College of North Wales, which is now Bangor University. And yeah, he did some Shakespeare, he did, just basically like some stuff. And then in 1987, he became a TV producer for BBC North Ireland, where he worked on some short films such as Elephant, and some other ones that don't have lit up links on Wikipedia, so I'm assuming they're not very popular. Wow. But yeah, basically, yeah, he went on, directed his first feature, which was Shallow Grave, and basically history from there. He went on to do a few more films with Ewan McGregor.
His second movie was Trainspotting.
Yeah, which is,
you know,
arguably his biggest movie. I don't know financially, but culturally, maybe. I guess maybe 28 Days Later, because that one like spurred on like the fast zombie genre.
I think that like the cultural impact in the sense like the things that are still talked about is Trainspotting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's a sense in horror and zombie movies specifically is they'll be influenced by movies and then like leave them in the dust. Like not a lot of people will talk about the originations of like tropes and things. And
yeah, in a certain sense, like a lot of people don't talk about that stuff, but there are a lot of horror fans who will just ingest endless amounts of horror movies, so they'll pretty much watch anything under the sun that has been in the horror genre.
Like
so.
Last of the Living.
I don't think many people have. You check the letterbox on that, but
there's at least 2 in this room.
Yes.
So that means in our research pool, 100% of the people that we're researching have seen that movie.
That's true.
That's more than like
I can't
28 weeks later.
Can't argue with the statistics.
Have you seen
there.
28 Weeks Later?
Right.
That means only 50% of our research pool has seen that movie.
That's true. That is true. Let me see. Last of the Lemons.
What about White Zombie? That's 0%. Neither of us have seen that movie.
Wait, with Bela Lugosi, I've seen White Zombie.
Okay, fuck you. Oh, I'm Thomas. I've seen movies.
Yes. Oh, not Last Living's Last Living, which has been logged by 421 members.
Hey, that's more than Subspecies 5.
Yeah, that's honestly more than I was expecting. I was expecting more like 100.
I was thinking like 128.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did like those kind of more grounded movies, and then kind of progressively throughout his work, he kind of got more high concept, started toiling with stuff that was more surreal or stuff like that. Kind of like a sci-fi almost, like not quite sci-fi, but somewhere in the realm. I don't know what my term for that would be, but yeah, I don't know. But we'll talk about like kind of the first film of his to kind of take that step in this episode. But aside from that, we don't really get into any of his other more fantastical works. We don't talk about. We might briefly talk about like 28 Days Later or Sunshine or Looper or something, but not the main focus of the episode this week.
He didn't do Looper?
I thought he did Looper.
No, Rian Johnson did Looper.
Right? Oh.
That's why I was so confused why you brought up Looper.
This whole time I thought he directed Looper.
No. Okay, that's why. I was like, why are we switching directors?
Well, disregard that beginning point. But, yeah. Okay. Now I know. I thought he did Looper. I don't know. Okay, never mind.
He did Frankenstein.
He did do that Frankenstein play that we both really liked.
I don't know if he liked. I don't know how I don't know how that works. Like, did he direct the performance?
Yeah,
or did he just direct? Like, did he come in to shoot it? Like, did he direct the film version of it?
No, I assume he directed the performance. Like,
because it's stellar.
Play director probably, and I'm sure he probably had some direction over the camera angles and positions and the editing together when they released it. But yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna ask that we change the order we do this a little bit. Instead of release order, I would like to talk about Trainspotting 1 and 2 at the end.
Okay,
just because it
makes sense.
It's weird to talk about Trainspotting, talk about 2 other movies, and then we'll talk about the sequel.
Yeah, I feel it.
So yeah, we'll start with Shallow Grave and then go to Life Less Ordinary, then Slumdog, then go back to Trainspotting and then do Trainspotting 2. So yeah. Let's talk about Shallow Grave.
Yeah,
They should have just had sex. It would have solved all their problems.
It would have solved most of their problems. Yeah.
Christopher Eccleston.
I found out about this movie for the first time like 2 years ago. I was like, wait, it's a Danny Boyle movie starring Christopher Eccleston and Ewan McGregor? And I had to add it to my watch list. Just got around to watching it, and it's pretty good.
I really like this one. It's definitely like kind of rigid, and it isn't as we'll talk about it later when we talk about Trainspotting, but like the rigidness hasn't worn off completely in that, but I think it works for the story it's telling. Mm-hmm. While this one, I think it is a little bit as a deterrent to the movie. Like, it doesn't completely mesh with the vibe of the film.
Yeah, it kind of took me a while to like, just because I wasn't quite sure where the film was going. Because it starts off with like the premise of this movie is basically there are 3 flatmates, and they're basically taking in applications for a 4th roommate. But they're mean-spirited about it. Like, they basically just torture a bunch of applicants. Eventually, they come across one that kind of sparks up a romantic interest with I don't know her name.
Susan.
Yes.
Not Susan.
It's probably not Susan.
It's gotta be Susan.
Shallow Grave.
In the shallow. In the shallow. Juliet.
Yes.
That's kind of like Susan.
Yeah, more or less. But yeah, so Juliet kind of strikes up this kind of romance with him and allows him to move in and kind of like gets the other guys on board with it, even though they're both kind of hesitant. Because they really want to fuck her. Like, it's just written all over their faces. Christopher Eccleston's character is kind of more meek, and he's like kind of like a straight and narrow business guy. Meanwhile, Ewan McGregor's more like kind of just a loud, roguish delinquent type. But yeah, basically this guy moves in. He's like a hitman or a drug dealer or something, but he ends up ODing on heroin in the room, and instead, Ewan McGregor starts like searching through his things afterwards and finds a briefcase which is just filled with money. So the three of them are kind of in this dilemma where they're like, do we report this to the police? Do we keep the money? Like, what do we do? And ultimately, they kind of struggle with it, but they end up deciding they're going to dismember the body, get rid of it, and keep the money. And they draw straws to see who's going to get this task, which it's like, fuck you guys. It's like, how dare you? You all want some of the money. You all grab a fucking... One gets one hand, or one gets the hands, one gets the feet, one gets the hammer and the teeth. Like, fuck you guys. Don't put all of that on one person. But yeah, Christopher Eccleston, who is the most hesitant to do any of this in the first place.
Yeah, if they were gonna, like, at that point, you're, like, forcing him to do this, just don't make him do anything with the body at that point. If he's the most, you're like, okay, here's the deal. You don't have to do anything with the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, he has to. And then he just kind of snaps after that.
Yeah, he's not in a great place.
He's not the same. He starts living in the attic.
He takes all the money from them, because, to be fair, they are kind of
frivolously.
Yes, spending it. And I understand, because I don't know if have you seen A Simple Plan? It's a very similar premise where basically, like,
no.
I want to say, like, a helicopter crashes in the woods, and, like, Billy Bob Thornton
without a paddle?
Yeah, kind of. Find basically a briefcase with a bunch of money, and they decide they're gonna, like, not report it and keep it. But in that movie, a problem arises when they start spending the money, because, like, the people who are after it have, like, taken record of, like, the serial numbers that are on the dollars, so they're able to, like, trace it back to them. But so that's kind of that's the direction I was, like, anticipating with this when they initially just started, like, spending the money. But no, Christopher Eccleston just kind of takes it, like, tarps it up and puts it into a bunch of water, and then lives in the attic where he drills a bunch of holes in the floor so he can just, like, kind of spy on his two roommates, make sure that they aren't planning or plotting anything against him. And yeah, there are also people out looking for the money, although that doesn't really turn out to amount to a whole lot. Kind of like a scene where it just kind of shows how further Christopher Eccleston's character has kind of descended.
Yeah.
Because, like, they go up to the attic and...
He just kills them both.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, they're each just... Both Juliet and Ewan McGregor's character are trying to get the fuck out of there, hopefully with the money. But yeah, it all just kind of comes to a head. Christopher Eccleston catches them in the act. It turns out Juliet was about to leave with she had, like, a ticket to fucking what was it, Spain? Somewhere. She's going...
Bahamas? No, it was...
Was it Rio?
Yeah, it was Rio de Janeiro.
Okay, yeah. But, yeah, she's planning on going away that way, and then he finds a ticket, and he's like, God damn it, I knew you would pull some shit like this, and then Ewan steps in, he's like, no, I bought the ticket, we were gonna go together, and tries to take the blame. But yeah, Christopher Eccleston is then stabs him, like, through, like, the... Just kind of, like, somewhere between the shoulder and the chest. Like,
yeah, it's, like, right here.
Yeah. And then Juliet stabs Christopher Eccleston through the neck, and then he dies, and then she tries to shove the knife further into Ewan McGregor. She's like, you saved me, thank you.
But I
starts
gotta take the
bashing the
money.
knife with her shoe to hammer it in there. And then she leaves with the briefcase full of money. So she thinks.
But earlier in a scene, we had seen him just like start ripping up newspapers. We're like, what's that about?
Yeah. And then it turns out that right underneath where he's like stabbed to the floor, there's all the money. And he had like just fucking... Yeah, there's like the scene of her crying in the airport parking lot because she just opened it up to like $30 and a bunch of newspaper. And it's just like, yeah, you kind of deserve that. I mean, to be fair, I don't think any of these characters deserve a happy ending, but like, yeah.
I think maybe there was a point that Christopher Eccleston did, like before they did anything.
Yeah.
So he was like, and then he's like, now I'm insane.
Yeah, but then he went, full off the deep end. So it's like, oh man. But yeah. Yeah, no, it's an interesting movie. I quite liked it. I thought the ending was the thing that really sold it for me.
Yeah, I really liked the ending. I think maybe I would have liked... I think it was a little sudden, like just the pacing of it, like each scene, maybe a little bit more. But like, I really like the concept. I really like most of the execution, and in general, I like the movie. I do like all the performances, and they feel like real people, which is weird, even though it's a pretty kind of fun, outlandish kind of tale. But it's they feel genuinely awful, but in a way that's like. Kind of understandable, you know, in a sense.
Yeah, endearing in a removed sense. It's like, you're kind of part of the fun at first. It's like...
Yeah, that first scene when they're just like fucking around, I was like, this is fun. We should do this.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, this is like such a mean-spirited thing to do, especially like considering that I'm sure the fucking housing situation probably wasn't great for people back then. It still isn't, but it's like, but goddamn, that's pretty funny. But yeah, I like this one a lot. I think Danny Boyle does a really good job at like sticking his landings. Really good endings in most of these. Yeah,
I actually really like the endings of I think all of these movies.
Yeah, I'd say that there's definitely like some that don't leave as strong an impact for me personally, but like for the most part he's really good at it. But yeah, it's fun. I don't think it's his best, but it's definitely a strong start. It's like one of those first movies that's really fun to watch because it's raw and rigid, but in like a fun and almost endearing sort of way. And you can see a lot of the things that he would like to do and explore, whether that's like stylistically or thematically in this one. And I feel like a lot of the themes that he was kind of starting to brew in this one did spill over into Trainspotting overall.
Definitely.
So it's like, good flick.
It's really funny seeing the type of character Ewan McGregor plays in this and then the character he plays in Trainspotting.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah, I quite enjoyed this one.
Yeah, so did I. I think that you would give it 7 out of 10.
I would. I think you would also.
I would. Yes. It's a strong 7. Could have been an 8, but I feel like it was just... Yeah, I probably would have paced out the descent into madness a little more and maybe dug a little deeper into the themes.
Structurally, a bit weird.
Yeah.
But
I probably would have removed the like guys looking for the money. Ultimately, I don't think that really panned out to a whole lot, and I think they
like I'm fine with them looking for the money and then it like abruptly changing, like they just immediately like get destroyed by Eccleston, but they don't. If they just pace out the descent after that, but it's like instantaneous after that, you know, like he's completely changed again. So I think it works until it doesn't.
Yeah, I could see your point there, but yeah.
But let's talk about A Life Less Ordinary, which is definitely a weirder, high concept one.
Yeah.
Reminds me almost of like this. The beginning kind of reminds me of something like Most Beautiful, Wonderful Time. It's a Wonderful Life. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Because they're like talking to the age. But yeah, this is about 2 angels that are sent to Earth because no one's falling in love anymore. That's like the central framing, but it's mostly just to add like a secondary antagonist and like I think the framing device is cute. I don't necessarily think they do anything with it. Like,
no, yeah, I'd say like
I like the concept. I'll say.
I'd say the only moment where like it genuinely like came together for me was like the point where it's like he does get shot through the heart and it's like the light's coming out of his bullet wound.
And I think thematically it's fun. Like I think the ending. I think this movie is probably the roughest of what we watched today.
Yeah,
but I think the ending like justifies what they're trying to do with it. It's just really rocky.
Yeah, it's a really weird movie altogether.
Yeah, it's like pacing-wise, a fucking mess.
Yes.
I was like, it's like an hour, and I'm like, is this movie about to end? I'm like, no. Where am I?
Yeah, no, there was a point where I looked, and there was about like 40 minutes left. I'm like, what? How?
Who am I?
But,
but the thing is, most of the scenes in this movie, I like quite a bit. It's just really weird structurally.
Yeah, I think I probably would have liked this a lot more had they trimmed the angel stuff out of it and had it just been like, oh, I'm kind of just a fuck up in all senses of the word, even at kidnapping and this like, my rich boss's daughter who I abducted is helping me with her kidnapping.
And then they still fall in love. That's fine.
Yeah.
But that would have been more like of a grounded approach, like Shallow Grave. So I kind of like that he's going for something a little more high concept.
Yeah, I don't think...
It just doesn't really pan out. Like, I like the ending, but that's fair. I do also think the bit at the end where the angel's like calling God and he's like, come on, help me out. And like the bodies are like slightly moving and the dad's like freaking out.
Yeah, I did like that.
I just saw them move.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty... I was hoping that they were just gonna like get up and...
Or just start screaming.
Oh, yeah, something. But they ended up not doing anything in that scene, so I was like, God damn it, dude.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so angels come to Earth. They're trying to force Ewan McGregor and Cameron Diaz into falling in love. Ewan McGregor's life is falling apart. He loses his job to automation. He loses his girlfriend to an aerobics instructor. And then he loses his car to not paying it.
Yeah.
But also it's the angels that take it to kind of spur it on.
Yeah.
So then he's like, you know what? Fuck it. And he's just like goes into his old job to try to get money and with a gun.
Yeah.
But he ends up taking Cameron Diaz's character is like a bratty daughter who's like, I love money. Give me more money, daddy. But she helps him to like escape and then like kidnap her. And they go on a fun little road trip.
Yeah. And they hint at her having like more layers, like that she does reference like somebody else that her father has kind of like done stuff to, and later in the movie you find out it's like, oh, the father basically like just said the mom was crazy and sent her to an asylum somewhere or an institution, but he was threatening to do the same thing to Cameron Diaz. I wish that had maybe been like built, or maybe not built up a bit more, but like fleshed out a bit more, especially like through her character, because like throughout most of the movie she just did kind of feel like the typical like rich daughter, like you can't take my credit card, I don't care if it was denied, it's my credit card. Oh, daddy, I can't believe that. Like reminds me of like the woman from like Good Times who's like trying to get the money wired to him or whatever. But yeah. Speaking of which, no, that wasn't her. I always get... Was it her?
What? Who?
I always get that actress mixed up with the actress who was playing the one angel in this. But I don't think it's the same actress.
From
Good Time.
Good Time?
Yeah.
I don't think it was, but that's actually maybe it is. That's Mrs. Incredible.
Oh, was that?
Yeah. No, she is not in Good Time.
Okay.
Yeah, she's Mrs. Incredible.
Nice.
She's fucking crazy in this movie. That's the one thing I will say about the Angels thing. I fucking love whatever the fuck she's doing. She's unhinged.
Yeah,
she's going fucking nuts every frame of the movie that she's in.
Yeah. No,
so I think I want the Angel stuff just so I can see this performance.
Right.
Because I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm in love with it.
Yeah. You know, this movie's kind of a strange mess, but it kind of works.
Yeah,
in that way.
it's a mess, but really fun. There's a random scene where they're, oh no, we gotta do karaoke. Yeah. And they do that. Do they do that kind of scene in Trainspotting too?
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is going on? Ewan McGregor loves to sing.
He does. He really does. There's that video of him online, like, playing a Muse song. But, yeah, no. It's that stop motion bit with the end.
Yeah, at the end, I'm like, what is happening? And I was like, it really just, like, I like that little stop motion, but just none of it fits together very well.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I would have put, like,
where am I?
Yeah.
It feels like I'm watching, like, 4 different movies.
It kind of does. But.
And I like all of them, but when you throw them into a big pot of gumbo, I don't know if it particularly works. But I want it to work so badly.
Yeah, no. I think I walked away liking this movie, but...
Yeah, me too, but...
It is rough.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
But yeah, I think this is the kind of movie you could put on and most people would get sucked into pretty quickly. So it's like...
Yeah, and then... It's also like a really fun... This would be a fun movie to have on like a party, because you come back to it 5 minutes later, and it's a completely different tone. It's like... Oh, she's threatening to shoot him in the head, and then 5 seconds later, she's like, I got you! Wasn't that so much fun? I'm having the time of my life! Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm getting so much whiplash.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like, the more I talk about this movie, I'm like, it was so fun how confused my heart was watching this movie.
This is just like a pure-blooded 90s rom-com with, like, a bit of, like, Bonnie and Clyde kind of, because like you compare it to like Natural Born Killers or True Romance, which those movies take themselves a bit more seriously. Then it's like, alright, but like this is like the fun version, or I guess people would classify those movies as kind of fun, but like a more fun, bubbly version of those movies.
I think it's disappointing that Cameron Diaz's character isn't more fleshed out, because I really like her in this too. Like when you're looking at like the late 90s, early 2000s string of movies she was doing, I feel like this is one of my favorite roles from her. It's like this, she's incredible in Being John Malkovich, but that's like a whole different type of movie. But in this, I really love what she's doing. And Ewan McGregor, I love it. He's so good.
Yeah.
But like everyone in this movie, I really like. Delroy Lindo is fantastic too. He brings a certain level of like clarity or groundedness to Holly Hunter's fucking insanity that she's doing.
Yeah. I love that he's got like that secret poem he wrote like years ago, and she's like, "Come on, tell me about the poem." And he's like, "No, it's personal." And it's just because he like makes fucking like coochie references in it. It's like, "No, I can't show you."
And it's just, it's like, it's all over the place. But it's one that I kind of want to rewatch.
Yeah, like,
because I'm like, why'd they do that? Why is it structured like that? Yeah. Why is there the guy and the humor and the lack of the like waves of when they want it to be funny? The guy who like lives in the other cabin, he's like,
that part.
My friend Felix. I asked him, are these good people?
And he barked
twice for no. To bark once for yes or something like that. Oh, you're friends with a dog? He's like, why the fuck would I talk to a dog? It's like, what the hell's happening?
And we never find out more about that, so that's...
Well, you see Felix.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, he shows up, like, when she's in the... He shows up, and I think he's just like, roof. Like, it's a guy.
Oh, I must have missed that part.
When she's, like, tied up in the car, Felix is with him.
I see.
But it's just... it's so weird. It's such a weird movie.
Yeah, this movie is strange.
But, like...
It's fun.
I liked it. And I feel like on a rewatch, I might like it more, because I feel like I might be able to make sense of some of the insanity.
Yeah, maybe.
But, yeah it's...
And at the very end, it not devolves, but kind of becomes like, almost like, it reminded me of like, I felt like I was watching End of Evangelion or something, because like the way that they were just like, love, it's the thing that bonds us together. And they were like talking like they were having a psychotic episode.
Yeah, it's really weird because like there's
well,
having
everything
like an
that
ending
happens
speech
flashes.
makes sense, and it's a thing that Danny Boyle does a lot. But this one, it feels almost sinister.
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
Like every scene from the movie is like playing behind them. They're like chroma keyed onto it, and it's just like, what is this? What am I watching? It's like, this feels weird, but. Yeah, and then it goes into a stop motion sequence.
Yeah, and I was just like, what did I just watch? I liked it, but
yeah,
what did I just watch?
This movie feels like a weird fever dream I would have had or something, but in the best way.
Yeah. I think you'd give this one a 6?
Yeah, I think I'm at a 6. I think that's probably the highest score I could charitably give it. I'd assume you're like at a 6 or maybe a 7.
I'm at a 6.
Okay.
But it's a weird place.
Yeah, no, it's a weird one because it's like technically like on the proficiency level, I don't know if this is structured like a 6, but I like it like a 6, so that's
it's a 6 just for Ewan McGregor's weird like mushroom haircut.
Yes. That and the scene where he goes, you think you can get a robot to replace me? And he picks it up and he throws it at the window and it bounces right back.
And then he just starts working again. He's like, fuck. Yeah. I don't think all the humor works in this movie, but that definitely worked. I laughed like audibly at that moment.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the feel-good movie of the decade, Slumdog Millionaire. That's what the theatrical poster for this movie said.
Really?
And I'm like, that is an insane thing to say. Because I think it ends on a, like... Even then, it ends on a bittersweet note. Because, like...
Yeah, it's like...
Someone dies.
It's like, I'm glad the two were able to, like, overcome all this tragedy and come together, but, like... We literally just watched his entire shitty fucking life leading up to this.
There's a part where an evil man blinds a child to profit on him more. I don't think a movie having that scene in it can be called the feel-good movie of the decade.
No. Probably. Well...
Unless it's a joke. But I don't think they would put that on a theatrical poster.
When did this come out?
2008? 7? 2008, because Dev Patel was 18 in this.
Oh, okay. He must have made this such a feel-good movie, and immediately after he was like, all right, now I have to make Sunshine. Or right before, I don't know.
I think Sunshine was 2009, so I think that was right after.
Yeah, but yeah, this is my first time seeing this one.
Yeah, I've seen this movie, I think, once, maybe twice before. Mm-hmm. I remember really enjoying it. I think I enjoyed it a little less. I really feel like Danny Boyle's directing style is just, I don't think really is the best fit for this story.
I agree. I kind of noticed that partway through, because, like, there are definitely bits where I thought it worked for the movie, like some of his, like, kind of ethereal speed cutting that he does. Like, I thought, like, okay, I see why he's doing this, but just in terms of, like, the general structure of the movie, it's, like, it's really weird because you're, like, bouncing back between his life moments that are kind of happening in, like, a specific chronological order, but while interspliced in between all of that, you're watching a past recording of his first episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire while he's being interrogated about that episode. And then at the end, he goes and does another episode to see if he can pull it all together. And it's like, it just feels like a really weird balance of like how they tried to cut that up.
Yeah.
And
like the structure itself, the central structure, like how they're trying to do it, I really like. It just doesn't... It's not as cohesive as I remember it being from my previous watch. I was kind of like, what the hell's happening?
Yeah, I think I would have skipped the interrogation stuff altogether. I don't think that, aside from showing like, the police are a little brutal here, which, I mean, probably could have gathered, but like, I think I would have just had it on like the episode, and every time it's like he has a question, he kind of ponders at it, and then like you go into the flashback or something, because at least then you're only like jumping back and forth between like 2 points.
There's a couple like pretty palpable and powerful like moments when like he says something after this flashback to the police like commissioner or inspector or whoever that is, that are pretty powerful. But like in general, I would agree, like I think you miss out on that, but do you give up some like strong like lines for a better structure kind of thing?
And it's like I think you probably could have had them like cut to commercial and maybe like have him kind of explain or say something. Maybe they probably could have worked it in there, but yeah, it's still overall pretty good movie though.
Yeah, I still really like this one. I do think it has like this big beating heart that Danny Boyle injects to the movie, and like I like it. It's just I feel like it's also weird because I think he eases up on a lot of his directing habits in Sunshine. Yeah. Like his more music video-esque directing style for that. So I'm like, why didn't he do that for this? Because it's a very different type of movie.
Yeah.
And, I still really like it. I still think he did a good job. But I think that, like, Danny Boyle of today, or, like, the Danny Boyle that directed T2, Trainspotting, would probably be a better fit than the Danny Boyle of 2008.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. But
like I said, I still really like this movie. This was Dev Patel's first feature role. I think he's incredible in this. I think but I think there's also a sense of rawness to his acting in this that is really, really good for this role.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I think his stuff since then has been better. Like his role in The Green Knight, which is a movie you should watch.
Yeah, I know.
He's incredible in that. And it's, but it's a much more matured and nuanced performance. While this feels, you have a sense of, you have almost a ferocity behind it.
And I think it works given his character and stuff.
And what was surprising is I think the kids in this are pretty damn good too.
Yeah, no, I
especially Salim, his brother. The two kids that play his brother, like in the younger versions, are fantastic. I would say they outshine the kids that play Dev Patel's character. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, because like it seems almost like when it is the flashbacks, it is more of his brother's story,
he's more of
it's like setting up for
conscious passenger kind of thing.
Because I mean, like you could argue that aside from like the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, like the whole thing is kind of framed around his brother's like redemption arc, so to say. I mean, I wouldn't call it a redemption arc, but it's something.
Yeah. He tries.
Yeah, he realizes he's like, I've been a shitty brother and a shitty brother person. But yeah, here's my chance to maybe make it right. And he does. He sits in a bathtub full of money.
That's the way to go, though. I get it. Joe was watching this. He's like, holy shit, look what he's doing.
Yep. It's like, that's how it's done. But, yeah. Although, when I did hate his character, the second he, like, let go of her hand on the train, and I was like, push him off the train, stupid motherfucker. Like, that would have pissed me off so bad. Especially, like, with all the shit he did in the years afterwards, too. It's just like, dude, fuck you. Like, I don't blame his brother for just never getting back in contact with him unless he wanted to try and find the girl. Because it was just like, yikes. But it's also just like, you can't really wholly blame the kid because it's like, it looks like they grew up in a pretty rough environment. So it's like, I can see why he turned out that way. Kind of like a fight for survival in a certain sense. And he was the one who really kind of took the reins and you could argue got what's the main character's name?
Jamal.
Yeah, got Jamal through his childhood due to his more
callous outlook.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's definitely like an interesting movie. Yeah, I don't know. I just, that whole like it was written thing at the end was like, But that's just my.
See, I was
my
like,
world.
Hell yeah!
So it's like,
I think there's a sense of, there's a certain sentimentality that Danny Boyle wants to put into his movies that works for me, that I knew wouldn't work for you, at least completely.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the different life experiences we've had at this point, and just how we've shifted as people.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely more. I'm one of those fucking. I'm not very spiritual of a person, so it's like.
And I think. Even since we've started this podcast, I think I've definitely shifted in my beliefs, but also just like what I want to believe kind of thing. And it's kind of like that thing where it's like, you gotta take a leap of faith sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
And you don't have to. I'm not saying you have to. But
I mean, there's definitely like a part of me that just desperately, like all the time, I'm like, man, maybe not like God, like the Christian God specifically, but it'd just be like a huge weight off my shoulders if it's like, everything's like preordained and my life's just gonna play out to the rhythm kind of a thing. I'd say the closest form of spiritualism I can kind of get down with is like kind of what like Dune was proposing, where it's like kind of like that level of spiritualism where it's like we're all kind of on the same plane, but
and you're just like Paul Atreides, so that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. I'm gearing up for my my big jihad, but no.
Tom is about to be placed on a list. I'm gearing up for my big jihad. Here we go.
If Timothy Chalamet can get away with it, then I should at least have a chance.
Let me do my jihad.
Come on, it'll be fun.
But yeah, and I don't even think like you need to necessarily believe that Danny Boyle is like saying that it was divine intervention.
No, yeah.
But and even I was reading up on him, and he could describe himself as like a spiritual atheist.
Yeah, I saw that on his Wikipedia
being like
page.
I think just like he doesn't believe in a god, but you know,
yeah,
he believes there might be something. There's a spirit in all of us, kind of.
Yeah, thing. I believe the proper term for that, Sir Daniel, is agnostic. But
well, maybe he doesn't even believe in any god. Maybe he believes in the spirit
of the sun,
of us, of our power, manifestation.
True.
It's so weird calling him Daniel, by the way. Like, after you said that, I'm like, that sounds wrong.
No, it definitely does.
Daniel? Who the fuck's Daniel?
Daniel Boyle? Ugh.
Or just Dan. Hey, Dan. It's like if I called you Tom. Yeah. Like, that sounds weird. I'm sure there are people in your life that do call you Tom.
They try.
But I'm just like, that's a weird thing to say. Like, it would be like calling Joe Joseph. I'm like, that's a weird thing.
Yeah. Or Pierre-Sif.
I mean, Pierre's full first name is Pierre Rubin.
Is it? Really?
But you'd never fucking call him Pierre Rubin.
No. No. I mean, that's just a mouthful.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he
already his name's too long. I just call him P.
There you go.
Or PP.
There you go. Hey, Air, get over here.
Hina some people call her Hina in her life. Every time I say that, I'm like, doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Like if you called me Dawn.
Or Lawn.
Dawn Chain.
Yeah.
London doesn't really have any shortening.
I can call you Lundy.
You're right.
But
that's still 2 syllables, though.
Well, yeah.
It's one less letter, I guess.
Yeah, it'd be a good written out nickname for you.
But yeah, Slumdog Millionaire has a lot of like. It also has a bunch of really strange scenes. Like if you look at them side by side, if you're looking at tonally. Like when he jumps into the pile of shit, and he's like, "Oh, side by paper. And then, or when you're looking at like the kids getting their eyes scooped out. But I think Daniel Boyle, now I'm calling him Daniel. But I think Danny Boyle at this point has figured out how to weave his story to make those tonal shifts better than like looking at like something like A Life Less Ordinary.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I still have some issues. I also think that like I don't think we spend enough time with Latika to have their like love story be like as meaningful as I want it to be. Like I like her scenes. I really like her performances as well. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like there could be a little more there.
Yeah, I agree.
But like overall, I like this movie quite a bit.
Yeah. Like the scene where the kid danced. He's like, "Are you gonna dance with me?" And she's like, "I hope you're a better singer than you are a dancer."
And I'm like a huge fan of the fact that they end it with like a Bollywood style like dance number. I'm like, hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. Much needed.
Yeah. Yeah, you're always gonna be like, it's kind of a weird thing that that a British director is directing the story, but it works. He does a pretty good job.
Yeah. No.
Like I said, I think there's some Danny Boyle-isms that are to the detriment of the movie. At least 2008 Danny Boyle-isms, but I still like this movie quite a bit.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And I was hoping I would. I'm always, when I rewatch a movie, I'm always a little scared I might hate it or something, but I still really like this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would give this one a 7.
Yeah, it's like a high 7. Almost an 8, but just didn't quite get there for me. I think that you were maybe at an 8.
It used to be an 8. I think it's at a 7 now.
Okay.
I think it went down a little bit, but still like it quite a bit. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's talk about it. Trainspotting. I can't remember. Had you seen this movie before?
Yes. Okay. Several times. Yeah, it's Matthew Broderick one. Not Matthew Broderick. Matthew Lillard one I haven't seen. SLC Punk.
The Lion King?
Yeah. I was like, what?
Ferris Bueller's Day Off? That's kind of like his SLC Punk Trainspotting.
What would you do if you just woke up in like a mustache-esque scenario where like
Matthew Broderick
exactly
was
the same, but yeah, Matthew
or a Yesterday-esque scenario.
Yeah, sure. Where Matthew Broderick turned out to be the Matthew Lillard's character in SLC Punk.
I'd be less annoyed than I would be if, like, Matthew Broderick was all of a sudden, had always been Shaggy in Scooby-Doo. Like, because that's everywhere.
Yeah.
I love SLC Punk, but that's one thing, I'd be more annoyed that Matthew Broderick has invaded all of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. But in turn, you might get Matthew Lillard in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, even though...
I like Matthew Lillard significantly more as an actor than Matthew Broderick.
Yeah. Although I don't know if he would have been old enough at that time. I'm not quite sure.
I don't think so. He'd be like,
probably be like 10 or something.
Yeah, that's fine. That'd be even better, actually. That'd make that movie better if, like, the cool kid is, like, also, like, 9.
Yeah, right?
He's in, like, a big suit.
Yeah, he's like, come on, Cameron, steal your dad's Ferrari.
Oh, yeah, we were going to talk about Trainspotting. So I was a little scared coming into this movie.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure, because, like, I feel like this movie is really good for, like, anyone from their teens to their, like, early 20s and stuff, because it's very much, like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I was scared of that, but I was also scared of the fact that... So I watched this movie a lot when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. Like, when I was 15, 16, I watched this and SLC Punk for the first time. And I fell in love with both, and I watched them a lot. And then the last time I watched this, I was 20. Mm-hmm. I had pretty recently moved up here. I watched it with Joe. We were in this house. Mm-hmm. And I haven't watched it since. And now, I'm 25. I'm about to be as old as the main character of this movie.
Yeah.
So, there was a fear that it was going to emotionally break me. Because, I've had a past with drugs. I've had a past with bad choices. And even when I was 20, I could see myself in ththis character and these characters quite a bit.
Yeah.
A little too much. So, and it did, by the way. It's been a rough couple of days.
Yeah.
But I think this movie still holds up for me personally. I really, really love this movie.
Yeah. No, this is I don't want to spoil it entirely, but yeah, this is hands down my favorite Danny Boyle movie, and it probably always will be, unless he whips out something really fucking good in the next couple years. But to be determined.
I think there's like this. This movie's really sad.
Yeah.
Because, they're addicted to these drugs, and they're all terrible people. Mm-hmm. Even the main character is a terrible person.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there are hints that he's, like, he could be better, and he does get better, but, like, he sleeps with a minor, which I will say, at the point, not his fault. Because she's, in a bar. Mm-hmm. These are all reasonable things. Obviously, he didn't ask her age, which is a bad thing, but at this point, it seems like he was pretty drunk.
Yeah.
But then, yes, he does do it again later. Yes. Or, we don't know, but they're naked on a bed, so it's...
Yeah, it seems pretty likely, and given his character throughout the rest of the movie, it's, like, all but certain.
But you still... These are, like, the types of characters. These are all terrible people, except for Spud. Yeah,
Spud... I mean, Spud's bad in his own ways, but he's not malicious.
Yeah, I would say Spud is, like... It's like a good person that is constantly being dragged into bad situations but of his own accord. Like he's, which you could argue that people that do that are bad people, but
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call them. It's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. And that's what this movie does, is it really challenges, like, what you think is, like, what's a good person, what's a bad person, what can be forgiven, what kind of stories can we watch? Like, can we watch stories where all the characters are terrible people? Mm-hmm. I was talking to my friend Eric, and he does not like this movie, because he doesn't want to watch a movie just about terrible people. And I'm like, that's fine. I do.
Yeah.
And Danny Boyle... There's a groundedness to this, and John Hodge, I think, is the writer of this, that it makes them feel like real people and like the friends that I've had that I've lost, whether it's to them being dicks, me being a dick, or drugs.
Yeah, I feel it.
And it's this like overbearing sense of familiarity that makes this movie like stand the test of time to me. Like it feels... this movie's 30 years old now, or almost 30 years old, and it still feels like real to me right now.
Yeah, no, I'd agree, because when I was younger, my perception of this movie was, like, mainly on the more surface level, like, oh, it's a movie about, like, heroin addiction and trying to overcome it, when it's really... more like heroin addiction is definitely like a part of it, but it's more like the state of like, I think it's a line in the first or second one where he says it, but it's like, no, like it's not about like detox. I think it's in the second one where he says this is Spud, but he's like, it's not about detoxing your system. It's about changing your state of mind.
It's not about, you're always going to be addicted to something. You just have to change what you're addicted to.
Yeah. But like, and that definitely speaks to me, because, like, I've definitely, like, struggled with my own sort of, like, drug addictions and stuff like that. Not on a scale where I would say it's, like, super detrimental, at least when I get it. But, there have been times where I'm like, oh, man, I want to stop smoking pot. And then I, like, kind of go through the same kind of ringer that he does, where it's like, all right, I'm preparing not to smoke pot. All right, let me get one last pen. Or do this. And then it's, like... Also, on top of that, it's like when you enter that sobriety, it's like you do have to kind of come to terms with these like darker pieces of yourself that you're trying to suppress with like the drugs and like maybe regrets you have, decisions you've made where you don't feel like you've been a great person. And like that whole part of the movie like really spoke to me this time. So
yeah, no, me too. And
yeah,
it's weird because like I also think that the ending for me now, it just feels so much sadder. When I was younger, I really just thought of it as like a happy ending. Like, to me, I'm like, he won. He's never going to do drugs again. He'll be fine. I was like, watching it now, it's like, he most certainly is not going to be fine.
Yeah, because it's like... Yeah, because it's... You almost get this sort of, like, rewarding sense when you're watching it on, like, just the basic level where it's like, okay, yeah, he's... Even if he's doing it in sort of, like, an abrupt and not good way, he's, like, cutting these people that he views as detrimental to his own state of being out of his life, which I can empathize with, because, you know, I think everyone can relate to at least that point.
I think we've all either cut people out of our lives that were bad for us or should.
Yes. But, yeah, there's just definitely, like, something sad about it, 'cause especially, like, when it's, like, the one who is awake is, like, you know, Spud, and he's looking at him, and he's like, like, sorry, and how he there's that line at the end where he's like, you know, there are ways where I'm thinking and trying to justify it to myself, but the truth is,
I'm a bad person.
I'm a bad person, but I'm trying to get better, and it's like, I feel like that's the thing, because even if, like, you're not, like, an overtly terrible person, I feel like most people can relate to that on some level, whether there's, like, something about their personality that they're like, I'm not a big fan of, like, this attribute to myself or whatever, so I'm gonna try to, like, fix that or whatever, and then they don't. Yeah. Whether it's something like doing drugs or, even just being a bitch to cashiers or something, like...
we all have vices, whether they're like things that will kill us or that will just slowly kill other people around us by draining their life of love and happiness.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's just like, it's funny because this has a lot to do with addiction, and even when you're talking about pot, I remember in high school, there was a big argument. It's like, pot, no one's addicted to pot. Like, that's not true at all. Like, it doesn't have the same addictive properties, but especially since living in Washington, I'm like, there are so many people I know that cannot go a day without smoking pot. Like, legitimately.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's fine, but you have to be, like, aware of that.
Oh, yeah. I think either people who say that they aren't, like, are just not really admitting it to themselves, or they don't want to admit it out loud to other people, but, like, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else. I mean, even if, like, you don't have, like, a chemical dependency on it, like, habits form, and
you have an emotional dependency on it, you know? Like, it makes you feel different.
Yeah, because I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, like, when I'm not high, like, let's say, like, I see a really scenic view or something. Like, fuck, man. Like, a dab on top of this would really just hit the spot, you know, and kind of sells it home to me. But it's like, it should just be enough that I'm seeing the view, you know? But...
Well, it's like, and I'm so, like, it's so scary. I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast before, but, you know, my 19th birthday, me and Hinatea, we ended up in the hospital because we did too much drugs.
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought I was going to die. I thought she was going to die. It was the scariest moment of my life. And it's one that will haunt me for the rest of my existence. But if that didn't happen, I'm not sure I wouldn't, like, have gone much further. Like, I know at that point I was thinking about doing coke. Like, that was the next step. And what's the next step after that? It's heroin, you know? It's like, I don't think I was that many steps away from never being able to come back from it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, it was the scariest point in my life, and I wish it never occurred, but at the same time, if it didn't occur, I don't know if I would be here. I don't know if I'd be alive.
Yeah.
So, you know, watching this movie, I see myself in all these characters. Maybe not Franco, but...
Oh, yeah, Franco is a different beast altogether.
Yeah. And it's... I think Franco's inclusion in these movies is also really important because it's like Franco is evil. He's like evil incarnate, pretty much. He's bad.
There's not. The second one tries to insert a little nuance into his character, but for the most part, he's pretty.
But it's like he hasn't changed in 20 years either. Like everyone else has changed.
Mm-hmm. To one
some of them
or another,
drastically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Franco is stuck. And in this one, I think it's important because it's that same thing. It's like we have people in our lives that are bad for us, that are bad for everyone. And we need to cut them out, but we don't.
Yeah.
And especially if we've have this like shared group. And like Hinateo was like, yeah, it's so weird because a lot of men, they'll just be friends with people that are just not good for them.
Yeah, no, because And
I think that's true. I think that's happened to us before. Like, there's people in our lives that we've recently had to cut out.
It just kind of happens. I feel like a lot of guys just like kind of like to take things at face value and try to see the best out of people, even if it's like, you know, you'd be friends with someone and they could like fucking, I don't know, punch you in the arm every fucking day and call you like slurs and stuff, and it's like, he's like a good person at heart.
You think the best of them and you ignore their worst parts, you know? And I get it. I've done it.
Yeah.
And I've probably been that person to people too.
Oh, like I know I certainly have, because in my youth I was a little rougher around the edges. I wouldn't say I was like evil or anything, but I was definitely...
We were probably dickheads. I know I was a dickhead.
No, I was definitely a dickhead. I still kind of am, but I try not to be.
But it's more like, that little shit.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, I don't know, I've kind of noticed back when I used to be more brash and just openly kind of a dickhead, more people liked me. And now that I'm more kind of like meek and to myself and just kind of trying to be my own energy, people don't really like me as much anymore. It's
also like, I think it's weird because I think there is a point where adults stop trying to make new friends.
Yeah. Definitely.
So like, you know, and there's a need in high school and in school in general to like feel like you belong somewhere, that you're a part of a group, or that you have like a big circle. And, you know, since high school, you know, I do think I have quite a bit of friends, but I'm pretty outgoing. I'm pretty nice.
Yeah.
And I try to be better every day, and I try to be available to people. But in general, like, I only hang out with the same people. Like, the best friend I've made since being an adult is you.
Thank you. Likewise.
And it's the same thing. It's like, you know, people don't have anywhere to meet. And it goes back to this movie. It's like
it's like
you are stuck with the people. You're gonna meet other drug addicts.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to cut it out, because if you cut them out of your life, you have no one. And that's the scariest thing. It's scarier than dying to people. It's scarier to me than dying for a lot of days. Like, being alone, scariest thing in the world.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a scary thought, but I mean, yeah, it's just like, I don't know, you just gotta try to be the best self you can be and try to inspire other people around you to also be the best selves they can be. Don't be a dickhead about it. I've known plenty of people who are like, I know what's best for you, and it's like, no you don't.
Yeah.
Calm down. But, you know, if you can maybe give them a little push here and there where it's like, you know, even if it's as much as just saying like, hey, you know, I think that you're capable of great things if you put your mind to it, or something like that. I don't know. But, yeah. Trainspotting's extremely... It definitely feels like his most personal movie.
Yeah. And I know it's based on a book, and so is the second one. It's based on a sequel to the book. But, you know, when you take responsibility for a story, you make it your own. I think all the actors also make it their own. It's so funny. Robert Carlyle, he seems like such a weird little dude, even though he's like 5'8". I don't know what he is. He has very small guy energy. He looks like he reminds me of a little gremlin, but he's like so intimidating in these movies.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be like, yeah, I'd be fucking scared of this guy, too.
Yeah.
And I'm a foot taller than him.
Yeah, no, he definitely has that just unhinged fucking energy about him where it's like, I mean, his opening scene is him chucking a fucking beer glass over the balcony. It cracks a woman in the head and her face is bleeding.
And then he's like, ooh, yeah, let's go. Because he's just doing it to get into a fight with people.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, that guy's evil. I mean, yeah, he's not a likable character, but I'm glad he's in the movie at the very least, because he does serve
I think thematically it's important to have him. I think you have like these 4 kind of pillars of the type of like addicts. Even if he doesn't do the drugs, but he's addicted to a whole different thing that is, in my opinion, much more dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous not only to himself, but more so the people that are around him. Which, I mean, same with drugs, but like...
Because like we see that. We see Tommy, who's like the youngest of the group, and he's really straight edge, but it's the same thing. They probably knew each other, and he probably looked up to Ewan McGregor's character in this because he was older, and he loses his partner, and then he does drugs, and then he gets HIV, and then he dies from cat shit.
Yep.
And it's pretty devastating, because I also feel that I've been in the situation where I've recommended someone do drugs for the first time.
Yeah,
you know, like
I've also done. I mean,
I've been recommended drugs, and I've recommended people do drugs.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever I've never sold someone their first hit. I've never gotten someone, but
yeah,
I get it. You know.
Yeah. No, I definitely do too. And definitely, like, some of my friends in the past have been a little, come on, don't be a spaz type. And I regret that. If it was, like, someone who I wasn't in a friend group with, I obviously didn't, like... I mean, I never, like, overtly forced anyone into it, but I was definitely like, come on.
Yeah, no, and I did the same. We've all done it, I think. And it's... Looking back on it, I'm like, what the fuck was wrong with me?
Yeah, it's like, oh, man, I wish I hadn't. Even if nothing bad stemmed from it, which in one scenario it kind of did. It wasn't I won't go super into specifics, but I didn't force them to do this, but we were having an LSD party at my place, and one of my friends was interested, so we were all like, yeah, you can come over, do a tap with us. And he had a really bad trip, because it turns out he had, like, at the time we didn't know, but he was like pretty extreme, like, bipolar disorder, and it did not work well with his, like, brain chemistry, and it was a real bad time. Like, and it's just like, man, I feel so bad about that. Even it's like we didn't know, but it's like still, it's just like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think that, like, this movie, and then, like, Climax is triggering to me because, you know, I've overdosed on acid before. And I know what those feelings are like. But this movie's triggering for me in the sense of, like, addiction and, like, the aftermath of these things and the way that relationships are turned for this. And it also is a good analysis on how, like, a lot of drug programs that are supposed to, like, wean you off aren't helpful. You know, like, the only way that it works is when his parents finally step in.
Yeah. And even then,
what a bunch of great parents. Those two are really good. Because they're like, we still love you. You're making mistakes, but we still love you. And it's like, you know what? We're going to help. Yeah,
no, they definitely... Because, I mean, obviously, like... I've had some experiences in my life where, like, people have been too... like... Yeah, you're an addict, but I'm going to be here to, like, support you through it. And that way, because then they never had any real incentive to, like, try and improve.
And I don't even, like, if people are going to be addicts and people are going to do hard drugs, I would prefer if there were safe injection sites and stuff. That's great. But the thing is, like, these programs that, like, are in this movie, it's just like, you get this, and then we send you on your way. Like, it's not... Yeah. You're just letting them go after...
Yeah, it's like, what do you think's gonna fucking happen? But, yeah. And there's also that line where it's like, kind of talking about the support groups that, like, addicts have, where it's like, all right, like, I'm going through the steps to get clean, but no one kind of talks about, like, all right, I'm clean, but now what? Like, I'm still sitting here with, like, all this resentment that was built up from, like, how basically, like, people can treat addicts and, not really help. I mean, they'll try to help, but the ways they try to help won't necessarily be, like, super helpful to them. And, just kind of sitting and burrowing in, like, those emotions after they've come clean. And it's like, well, like, no one talks about how fucking, like, boring and isolating it is now that it's like, all right, I'm clean, now what? Like, I've still got all these years left, which is a bigger sentiment in the second one, but he does lightly shine upon it in the first one. But it's like, yeah, I definitely can kind of, like, understand that to a certain degree, too. But, yeah, Trainspotting. We didn't actually talk much about the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. There are so many iconic scenes throughout.
I do think that Chu's life is such an iconic scene. But yeah, Mark Renton, he's addicted to heroin. He has 3 big friends. Well, I guess 4 big friends if you count Tommy, who dies later in the movie, which we already talked about. But he has Spud, he has Sick Boy, and he has Franco. Sick Boy is... Johnny Lee Miller is incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
I really, really like Johnny Lee Miller in this, in Trainspotting 2, and in Frankenstein.
Yes.
But I really like Spud in this, too. Ewan something.
Yeah.
It's Ewan McGregor, and it's Ewan Bremner.
Yeah, no, he's really good in this. I'm glad that they gave his character more shine in the sequel.
He's in Snowpiercer. I'm pretty sure he's the guy who gets his arm cut off in the ice.
I don't remember.
They're like, they shove his arm out the window. And they hold it for like half a minute and they bring it in as frozen solid and like break it with a hammer. I think that's him. He's in the movie for sure, but I think that's the character.
Yeah, I don't remember that part.
But yeah, I think all the performances are really good in this. Shockingly, I really, really like the girl who plays, is it Danielle? Or the underage girl.
Yeah.
Because this was her first movie.
Yeah, she's good.
Diane, not Danielle.
Yeah, I was surprised when she popped up in the sequel. I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I was half expecting them to focus on that a little more, but I'm kind of glad they didn't. Would have been a little weird. But, yeah. Trainspotting 1.
But yeah, he just goes through a bunch of events that he loses himself. There's the scene that... The scenes that really stand out, there's the scene where he climbs in the dirty toilet.
Yes.
Classic scene. The scene where he overdoses and sees the dead... Well, the scene where the baby dies. And
yes.
Sick Boy in that, Johnny Lee Miller in that scene, is harrowing stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of revealed at that point. It's like they didn't really know who the father was until that point, and then they're like, well, at least until this point. And then, yeah, he's just bawling there.
Yeah, that's that whole scene.
And then the line that immediately follows is like, I think something in Sick Boy broke that day. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's like, say something.
He's like, I'm
gonna cook.
Yeah. And then the mother immediately is like, I need a hit.
Yeah, this means I get a hit, right? And it's like, oh. And it's like, and he has the line where it's like, I can see why she'd want this, to kind of numb the pain. Yeah. But it's like...
And she'll get one, but not before me.
Yeah, and it's just like, God damn, dude.
And I mean, like, I get it from a standpoint. It's like you're suddenly out of, like, a great high, and you're like, oh my God, my life is ruined. I need to jump back into the high.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, like... understandable, but it's just like, it's heavy. Like, it's a heavy fucking scene. And then the fucking detox scene where, I mean, he basically gets confronted with everything that every shitty thing that's happened around him in the first hour of the movie, whether it be Spud in his, like, jail attire, or the baby crawling on the ceiling, or, you know, there's a, like, he sees, like, the girl he slept with, like, pretty much everything is flashing to him and he's having to come to terms with, but, yeah. Yeah, and then he gets his life together and he moves to a different part of...
He moves to London.
Yeah, he moves to London, that's right. And then he gets followed by Franco, and then Sick Boy follows. And then
they're all sleeping in bed together.
Yeah, and then they end up, like, getting a bunch of cocaine, and they're like, we're going to sell this for as much money as we can. And then they do, and they sell it for, like, what, 14?
16.
16.
Because they were going to split it 4 each.
Yes. And then, yep.
And then Mark runs off with it in the middle of the morning.
Yeah. Yep.
And then he leaves Spud 4,000, and then he walks away telling the camera he's a terrible person, but that he's going to choose life.
Yep.
The 4-door car with the windshield wipers and the gun.
The house, the wife, the kids.
I used to have the beginning monologue memorized. So I think it's a really good monologue.
It definitely is. But
yeah, this is a movie that, like, objectively I can't really, like, rate because it's a movie that's so personal to me, but, like, I do think is an incredible feat of filmmaking anyway.
Yeah.
And it does feel so personal to me, but also to seemingly the people that are in it. Yeah, I love this movie. It's hard to watch every time, but it's a great watch every time.
Yeah. It really is. So, like, 10 out of 10
Yeah.
for you? Okay.
I think you're at 9?
Yeah, that's right. I think some of the pacing is a little, like, the third act feels distinctly different from the first two, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it is noticeable. So
yeah, I think I like it, and I think it fits well with, like, this, like, sobriety, how, like, time seems to move differently in a sober world. I don't know if that was the intent, but that's always how I've taken it, even when, like, my first watch of it.
yeah.
But I get it. So, let's talk about T2 Trainspotting. You had not seen this? I had not seen this. I don't know if you liked this. I suspect that you thought it was fine.
That's pretty much. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was bad either. So it's there's some elements to it that I think are really strong, and there are other elements to it that I don't think hit the landing for me. But overall, I'd say I enjoyed it.
I really loved this movie.
Okay.
I was really. This was another one I was really scared too, because I'm like, how do you follow up Trainspotting? And I think I am far enough removed from my own addiction that I feel more related to these characters now in T2 than I do in Trainspotting. So I think that's really where it comes from. But yeah, no, this movie, like, really fucked me up.
Yeah.
And it's another thing. It's like, it might just be because of my own personal biases, but I really like this movie. And I also think this movie's really gorgeous. There's a couple scenes. There's the scene, it's been haunting me for the last day, but the scene when he visits his father again and his mother's missing, and his shadow is now on his mother's chair, so it seems like there's 3 people there. That shot's incredible.
Yeah.
That shot's been, like, in my head for the last 24 hours.
I know, and it's just like, that whole aspect's so sad, because he's like, yeah, your mom always thought you'd come back, but she just didn't make it.
And I think this also comes back to, like, I didn't want to go back to Hawaii because I felt like I was running from something, and subconsciously, like, it's the person I was there. I get it, you know? And it was, it was really hard to go back. And it was actually like pretty easy once I was there. But the fear was there. And I was also so afraid of missing something. You know, I was like, what if I never see this person again then? Or something like that. Mm-hmm. So this movie just really hit me hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark returns to Edinburgh after 20 years abroad. He had been living in London, I think.
Yes.
And he had like a wife.
No, Amsterdam.
Was he actually from Amsterdam, or was Sick Boy just lying to Franco when he was saying that?
He did tell at least Sick Boy that he had been in Amsterdam.
Okay. I couldn't remember where it was from.
Yeah.
But he returns, and it's like later revealed because his life's falling apart. Like he had a heart attack or something similar to a heart attack. They had to put a metal stint into his heart. And I think there's just a couple of like pretty profound lines in this that really hit me hard. Like when he talks about that and he's like, you know, if they had said I had fucking 1 or 2 years left, I would have been fine. I can figure out what to do to piss away 2 years. But 30 fucking years? I'm 45. What the fuck am I going to do for those 30 years?
Yeah.
And I feel like there are parts in my life. I feel like right now, I'm in a great place. Mm-hmm. I have a job that I love. The people in my life I care about so much. And they're all people that I want in my life. Mm-hmm. And, like, mentally and physically, besides my foot breaking, I'm pretty good. But, like, 3 years ago, I felt the same fucking way. Even though I was only 22, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? What am I going to do now? I feel like anytime something big happens, I feel like I'm restarting. So, I get it. I get it. But, yeah, he meets up with Spud first, who's about to kill himself. I think I really like what they do with Spud in this movie.
Yeah. Because
Spud's like the one that's still addicted to heroin. Sick Boy switched to cocaine.
Yeah.
But Spud's still addicted. And he also seems like he's trying. Like he had a construction job. He has a son. And he's like, I love you all, but I can't do this anymore. And he's trying to kill himself. And like, as he's killing himself, as he's asphyxiating, Mark breaks down the door. He's like, I'm here! And he saves him. And he's like, fuck you! You ruined my life. He's like, I gave you 4,000 pounds. He's like, yeah! What the fuck do you think I was gonna do with it? I used it on drugs.
Yeah. So, yeah. Fair point. But yeah, and it's nice because, like, yeah, Mark gives Spud kind of like a good motivational speech that gets through to him, and he, you know, even though he struggles along the way, he does kind of like through Veronica, he does find like something that he can get kind of impassioned about and channel his energy into, which is writing down his life story. And I thought that was super endearing. Like, I really liked that.
Yeah, and he's good at writing, you know, and everyone's like, why the fuck would he write? And then they read, they're like, what the hell? Yeah. And it's you know, it's one of those things, like, how many hidden talents do people have that we just don't let them explore? We don't, you know, properly nurture their creativity.
Yeah.
Or they get addicted to heroin.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, yeah, that whole signature story he tells is very emblematic of that, where he's talks about being in jail, and he's like, I found out I was extremely skilled at forging signatures, but then, like, we turned to the e-card digital age, and now I can't really use that to my benefit anymore, and there's not really much of a point. It does come back around, though, don't worry.
But cyclical.
Yes.
But yeah, he's doing that. Sick Boy is blackmailing people.
Yeah.
With the help of Veronica, who's the new addition to this movie.
Trying to build a spa.
Yeah.
Awful.
He's like in love with this girl who's just kind of there. She's like, cool. Give me money.
Yeah, pretty much.
She gets it. I get her.
Yeah.
But they're like blackmailing a bunch of high profile people to get like monthly money so they can kind of fund things. But and then he tries to get Mark in on it because he's pissed at Mark still.
Yeah, he got this whole. Well, he tells Veronica right after he shows back up. He's like,
I'm gonna lure him in.
Yeah, I'm gonna become great friends with him again, and I'm gonna stab him in the back. And it's like you can tell that he's just fucking really hurt because I mean, like, obviously at the end of the first Trainspotting, he always attributes. He's like, well, Sick Boy, if he had thought of this first, he would have done the exact same thing, but. It seems kind of up in the air. Yeah. Like, it seems like Sick Boy, even though he was kind of a fuck, a sick boy, so to speak, he did care about Mark, Yeah. Because there's that line where it's like, I decided to get clean, and Sick Boy did the same thing at the same time to annoy me, but it's like, you never get a deeper perspective on, like, Sick Boy's point of view in that movie, but it's like, with the context of the second one, it's like, oh, maybe he was just trying to, like, make sure you didn't have to go it alone.
Yeah.
But not trying to undermine your struggles. It's a very
well, it's the same thing where it's like a lot of not just drug users but people in general, they see everyone as an antagonist. Mm-hmm. Even though, he was a dickhead. Both of them were dickheads.
Yeah.
They were still on the same side, but they couldn't see that.
Yeah. And it's just like, damn.
But yeah, Franco is in prison and has been for years.
Yeah.
And but he breaks out.
Yeah, he has an inmate stab him and then
in the liver. Not specific. He didn't want it in the liver, but that's where he got stabbed. And he breaks out and he goes back to his house. And we see his wife and his son Franco Jr.
Yeah, and he tries to get Franco Jr. into the family business,
but he's like, I want to be a hotel manager.
He's like, I want to go to college. And he's like, what my son?
My son go to college?
What? Didn't have any of that shit. But yeah. So yeah, of course, when his son eventually opens up, he's like, I don't think that this is the lifestyle for me. He's like, you're not my boy, kind of a thing. It's like, how can you be my son if you're not a complete fucking psychopath?
Yeah. And I don't even think the things they do with Franco to explore his character are trying to redeem him.
No.
But I really like them. I don't know if you care for them, but
I thought most of them were pretty shallow. Like, it's like, okay, he's definitely like... I think it's realistic. Like, I feel like I could see someone like Franco existing in real life for sure. But also, it's like, it just didn't, like, really hit any buttons for me. He served as a good antagonist for the movie.
I think I like that it's more of a shallow, because it feels like he's finally, at this point, he's like 50 years old. Mm-hmm. And he's finally opening up to his own emotions, but just barely the surface.
Yeah.
Like, the things he says in this are like the bare minimum for modern day, like what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And it feels like in another world, there would have been a lot more to explore with him. So I think it's a good thing that it was shallow, at least for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't want them to try and, like, build his character up into something more, like, empathetic than it turned out to be.
And I also was, like, I was a little afraid. I'm like, is this 50-year-old man still going to be, like, menacing? No, it still is.
Yeah.
Maybe more so.
Yeah.
Because now he's like,
angrier.
I've been in prison 20 years. I'm going to kill everyone.
Yeah. It's like, it has no reason not to go full force. And it's like... But yeah, fucking, what was it? I feel like I had another point on Franco, but I dropped it. This is what... Choose life, everyone. Don't do drugs.
Like, I'm glad they didn't open with another Choose Life one, but the one they did do, like, at the halfway point or whatever, when she's with Veronica, I don't know what it was about it, but it kind of made me really sad.
It kind of made me cringe a little. I thought it was really cringy in this.
Well, no, I think it was, but I think it also made me sad because, like, he's saying this, and it's like, I think, like, having a 45-year-old now say it, he's in the middle of a restaurant, he's saying it loudly, and she's just kind of looking at him, and she's just kind of has sadness in her eyes. Yeah. So I think it's cringy, but I also just think it's, like, really sad.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
Like, I think it's cringy in a good way. Like, for the movie. I think you probably just would have preferred if it wasn't there. But
I think I was just a little too in the cringe cloud at that point. So I was just... But, yeah, maybe with a future rewatch, I might be able to look at it through that lens, but...
And I also like that in this movie, they're still all dickheads, you know?
Oh,
like... Ewan McGregor, he's like, oh, he's a great person now. And he's like, I'm gonna fuck Veronica. I'm like, classic.
Oh, no, yeah. The second he was like, nah. Like, I didn't actually have kids. My wife is divorcing me. It's like, yep, cat's out of the bag. Like, you are the same person you were at the last frame of the last movie.
And I don't think...
Well, he's changed.
He's that,
but,
yeah. I think all of them are pretty different. I think Sick Boy's definitely different, too.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. Because, I mean, like...
And he's also, like, you know, he's in love with a woman that's not going to love him back. Mm-hmm. But that's probably also fundamentally changed him as a person, too. Yeah. So the last person he was probably in love with had a child that died in front of him.
Yeah.
If they were ever in love. It's never really explored. Probably not, but...
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, but...
But maybe at a moment.
Yeah. But
and they bring that up, you know. I actually really like the altercation they have in front of that mountain that they didn't climb either time because they're like, we're not going to fucking climb that mountain.
Yeah, I think him and Spud did earlier in the movie. But
yeah, I don't know if it's that mountain. They climb a mountain, though.
Yeah. But, yeah.
But, yeah, and... I don't know. I really like the scene where it feels a lot like the first movie. I really like the scene where they infiltrate the like British like loyalists pub.
Oh yeah.
And they have to steal the credit cards, and it just feels like a weird like random heist. And then they have to sing the song, and he's just like, okay, I'll just make something up, and he's like, there were no more Catholics left. Yeah. And everyone's just like, let's fucking go.
Right, I feel like.
It was just such a... And then they just like... they're just stealing all the money. They're just $16.90.
Yeah, they're basically trying to weed out anybody at that $16.90 fest that might have set that as their pin, which looks like they got a few biters on that one. But...
so it's just like, I think there's enough in this movie that's like, it's interesting exploration of how we age as addicts and how we age as people and how we age when we're abandoned by people. Mm-hmm. But it's also like, it has enough scenes that remind me of the first one in a good way or in a bad way that I think it's like I really like it as a sequel to Trainspotting. I really wasn't sure if I would. And I also wasn't sure when the finale started how I would like it, but I don't know what it was. Like the drenched... I really like the finale. Like, it's almost like an action sequence. But, like, it's all, like, drenched in, like, greens, and there's the panel doors of just mirrors. Mm-hmm. And there's, like... There's a lot of really good face acting in this movie. Mm. Especially Franco. Like, I think that's what it circles back around to it is Robert Carlyle's, like, facial performance.
Yeah.
Like, when he pushes Mark Renton, and he falls, and he gets, like, a wire wrapped around his neck, and he's dying. And the way he looks at him... you can see there's like a million emotions like going through it because this is the guy that he wanted to kill for 20 years. But this is also the kid that he grew up with. Mm-hmm. That he's known for 45 years. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
Yeah, and then he grabs his legs and tries to kind of lovingly pull him to his death in a weird sense.
And it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's definitely like a very palatable scene, but then, yeah, of course you get the fucking like superhero moment from Sick Boy coming in with a mace.
Ooh, superhero! And then you get the superhero moment from fucking Spud where he hits him with a toilet.
Yep.
And it's just like... Also, these I do like the first movie's incredibly gross. Like, there's a lot of really gross moments. I love how gross this one's still. Like, he throws up in his own bag at the beginning, right? Like, it's still gross.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I'd say overall less gross, but it's still there.
And there's like fun little callbacks. Like, you see the horrible toilet, and then he just goes to the next one.
Yeah, there's a couple of those I felt like were too far. And there was also a couple points where it felt like the movie was like making meta commentary on like nostalgia in films that felt a little awkward to me.
I feel like every time they do that, it's from like Sick Boy a lot of the times, or Mark. But the thing is, like they're wrong. And they're not owning up to why they're really there in those moments. Like, there's that one point where Sick Boy says, "You're just here as a tourist in your own nostalgia."
Yeah.
And really, it's Mark is there to, combat the things that he ran away from. Mm-hmm. Whether that is nostalgia or not, he's not a tourist. He's a warrior at that point, And
well, I felt like it worked on that like character level. On the meta level, it was just like nah. But thankfully, due to its purpose and the fact that there's maybe like 3 or 4 of those scenes throughout the whole movie, so it wasn't like that big of a deal. Because I mean, yeah, I know 3 or 4 scenes sounds like a lot, but pretty fast-paced director, so like the scenes are pretty short. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely going to take some rewatches for me to fully come to terms with how I feel about that aspect of the film. Mm-hmm. But on the first watch, it was definitely like,
That's fair. There's a lot of scenes in this movie that, in concept, I don't think would work for me, but they worked for me in this.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
That's fair.
And I think it's because, like, I think I'm on the same level of Danny Boyle. Like, we're operating on the same level. Like, I get it. So his directing style, even his, like, personality, I'm kind of in tune with. Mm-hmm. So the things that don't work for you, I think, just work for me. At least when it comes to Danny Boyle.
Yeah. No, I feel that. But, I mean, who knows? Maybe if you rewatch yesterday now, it'll be like right on sync with you.
I was like, what if I rewatched yesterday and liked it? I don't think I would. And honestly, I have no idea how he made this movie, which is so meaningful to me now. Like, this movie really hit me hard. Mm. And then he fucking made Yesterday 2 years later. What the fuck? The hell?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because Yesterday is terrible. I have liked every movie he's made except that movie, and I think that movie's awful.
I didn't see it, but I saw the trailer for it a lot. And yeah, it looked pretty fucking bad. So.
And I can't say that I'll like all. There's still like probably 4 or 5 movies of his I haven't seen.
Yeah, there's a couple.
But that one's probably the worst one.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Like, I don't imagine like Trance will be much worse than Yesterday.
And the thing is, I probably I tend to like it, even though this movie, especially this one, is more hopeful than like the first one. It's still grimy, and I tend to like his movies when they're more grimy or sad. Mm-hmm. And Yesterday's just weird. Just not very sad, not very grimy.
Yeah, it seems
like what if I pretended I made up all the Beatles songs because they didn't exist, and what if I fucking met John Lennon because he didn't die in this world?
Oh, weird! I didn't know about that.
Yeah, really weird, really fucking weird scene.
Who do they have play him?
I don't fucking remember. think I tried to immediately forget yesterday. That was also in 2019, so I was also probably more forgiving on movies than I should have been.
Yeah.
Like, I gave that movie and Bohemian Rhapsody a 3 out of 10. Probably too high for both of those.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of a single scene in either that I liked. Or that I didn't think were actively obnoxious.
I didn't watch either of them.
You know, Thomas, you make better decisions than me when it comes to movies.
I feel like I've got a good gut feeling with whether a movie will really appeal to me or not.
The thing is, I don't care about that. Like, when I see a movie, I'm just like, I'll still see it.
See, I feel like I'm good at gauging, like, even the ones where it's like, this seems like a bad movie, but I might get some, because I love me some trash, but I know the kind
watch Full Moon all the fucking time.
Yeah, but digging through the garbage, I know the difference between eating like a nice apple core and between eating like a fucking shitty diaper or something.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just like fucking. But yeah,
but Trainspotting 2, I loved. I also really liked the ending of him going back to see his dad, and then him dancing.
Yeah. And then the whole train tunnel thing. Yeah, that was a good ending.
I really like what they did. It's only like the 2 scenes, but him and his dad scenes are really good.
Yeah, I wish there had been more to that, but I get that there was a lot going on in the movie, so I don't fault it for not lending too much screen time to that, but it's like, oh man, I wish there was just a little more of that.
But I really like what they do with all 4 characters, if I'm being honest, and at that point I'm just like, that's what I wanted. And I like Veronica.
Yeah,
I think
too. That she got her
she did it.
Yeah.
But for like a well-meaning reason.
Yeah, it feels less shitty than what Mark did at the end of the first movie. And it feels like spiritually like both Mark and Sick Boy and Spud are all like, yeah,
they're fine with it.
Yeah, okay. It's probably better this way. Yeah. They would just blow it on brothels and drugs and God knows what else. But yeah, Trainspotting 2.
I think 6, 7.
Yeah, I'm probably at like a 7.
Okay.
I think you're at like an 8. You're 9? A 10. Okay.
So like I said, I've had a rough couple of days, internally because of these movies, and I think I think both these movies mean a lot to me now. Like, Trainspotting's always meant a lot to me, but I also am kind of glad I didn't watch this movie in 2017. I don't think it would have really hit me, like, at all when this came out. I don't think I would have liked this movie when it came out.
Yeah, I probably.
But I think I
think I might have felt more or less the same. I think I might have been a little duller on it, but I don't think I would have been too far from where I'm sitting currently.
But now that I'm not 19, God, we're getting old.
Yeah, we are. It happens.
Do you feel old every fucking day of your life?
I mean, I wouldn't say I feel old, but I'm at the point where I realize that, like, based off like my eating habits and the way I treat my body, there's a decent chance that I've only got like another good like 25 to like 40 years left, I feel, because it's just like, I don't know.
Thomas,
I feel like I don't take good care of myself.
Thomas, you're not gonna die at 50 because you got a bit of a tummy.
It's
in fact, you're gonna die from all the pussy you'll be getting.
No, it's mostly the fact that I puff on that pen like a chain smoker, and I'm probably gonna get lung cancer or something. But you know, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
Okay. What are we gonna watch next week? I wanted to maybe watch SLC Punk, but like, that movie's also pretty heavy. Well, let's roll to see if we get the bag.
Okay.
We'll do what? 5 and under. We'll do the bag. Fuck. I was hoping it wasn't the bag, if I'm being honest. I was gonna pick SLC Punk anyway. I'm like, you know what, it's fine. But, okay. I'll pick one. How many we got left in here? A lot, okay. I think like 6. Gonna pick one?
Yeah. Well, maybe next time we can do a bag finale if it's down to 4 or whatever. Assuming that nothing in there is like a season of anything.
It's all of a Family Guy this time. Oh my god, these are like melted together.
I know, I was gonna say.
Just do it from the side.
Geostorm.
God damn it. The Pest.
John Leguizamo.
How many are left? Hold on.
I think there's 4 of them.
Do you want to make it easier and do one more so next time we only have to do 3 again instead of...
I suppose.
Do you want to do one more?
Sure.
Okay. Pick one. What?
It's the fucking Ring versus the Grudge.
So we got 2 up here.
God damn it, now I have to watch all of those. Alright, here we go.
God. I was really hoping it wasn't that because I do want to watch all the Ring movies. Okay, I've seen all the Grudge movies. Ring 1's incredible. Ringu's incredible. Love that movie.
Yes.
If you're gonna watch any of them, I also really like Rawson. The Spiral, the second one.
Oh, is that the original sequel?
Yeah, that's the one that
kind of retconned.
Yeah, nobody liked it, so Hideo Nakata, I think his name is, the guy who did Ringu. He did Ringu 2 instead, which I haven't seen. I've only seen Ringu Spiral in the American remake of Ringu.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll watch any others because we already have 3. It will be a busy week for me, but maybe. All right, what a bunch of garbage we're watching.
Yes.
Geostorm's going to be the best one. Pierre highly recommends you watch Ring vs. The Grudge dubbed.
I will probably do so then. See how that goes.
You know, maybe I'll watch it with both, and I'll like switch every 10 minutes.
I'll just have them both on at the same time, different screens.
Ooh, screen Weens. Screens Weens. All right, thanks everyone for watching this episode. We will see you next week for The Pest, Sadako vs. Kayako, and Geostorm.
Yes.
What a great bunch of movies there. Okay, goodbye.
Adios.